me, Tots Lahane. Good day. You are linked into the 4th annual Nez Perce Tribe 2021 HIPT Food Coalition Summit. Welcome. HIPT is an acronym for Helping Indigenous People Thrive and means food in the Nimi-Pu language. HIPT, food. The theme this year is Visions for a Healthy Future, specifically focusing on food safety. My name is Ann McCormick, and I am co-chair of the summit. I am an enrolled Nez Perce tribal member serving on the government side of the tribe as the Economic Development Planner. The HIP Food Summit is an annual priority project for me with a great group of other dedicated coalition committee members. We have enjoyed hosting the summit each year, including this year since 2018. According to our traditional food round, the month of January, Walupup, is part of the winter season, the time when the Nimi-Pu, the people, remained mostly in their communal lodges conducting medicine dances and in deep prayer to ask the Hanyuwat, our creator, to bless them with abundance of food for the people so no one who works hard during the upcoming harvest times would starve or go without food. So to honor that tradition, we would like to open this meeting about food with prayer. We are privileged to start out the day with two distinguished gentlemen. First, pastor of the Name Church, Lapwai Mayor, and a member of our committee, Antonio Smith, from the Shoshone-Paiute tribe. Out of respect for the Hanyuwat, if possible, can you please stand? And now, Antonio, I think we're ready. So if you would please lead us in prayer.
All right, Heavenly Father and Creator, we thank you for the opportunity for this day to gather with friends near and far, to discuss, to share ideas, and to learn from each other about this important topic, important gift that you've given us of food. We see in Scripture that throughout your Bible that you have identified food from the very beginning, third day of creation, all seed-bearing plants and then animals. And it's always been obvious that you have meant for us to be together, to work together, to benefit each other. So Heavenly Father, we pray that as we gather today, our hearts would be open to hear and to understand and to learn from each other, specifically the topic of safety. May we learn how to work with this gift of food in a safe way, in a good way. May we learn how to partake of this gift. May we learn how to take care of this gift of creation. And for all of this, Lord, we pray for wisdom. We pray for our good hearts today to mend together in unity. And we pray for our nation. We pray for health in our bodies. We pray for our loved ones who are sick, that they would find health. We pray that our loved ones who have lost their dear ones would be healed and comforted today. We pray for those who lack, Lord, in their food or warmth, that they would be comforted and they would be fed. We pray that we would be a part of the solution. This team, these that gather today, may we just come under your blessing, under your grace, and we say this with thankful hearts and humble hearts today, in the name of Jesus, amen.
Please be seated. Katsiayao Antonio for starting us out in a good way. He's one of our highest regarded spiritual leaders. Katsiayao. And at this time, I would like to introduce our chairman, Shannon Wheeler, but unfortunately, he had to go to the dentist this morning, and I can see Mr. Casey Mitchell is with us. So that means that unfortunately, Chairman Wheeler is probably not going to be able to join us. But Vice Chairman Mitchell is also a very highly regarded person. And so I'm going to turn the opening address over to you. Would you please give us some of your words?
Me there. Thank you, Ann. Appreciate that, and Katsiaya, Antonio, for that prayer. I know that it's very important when we talk about sacred things to open things up with the prayer. So definitely appreciate your words, Antonio. And on the chairman's behalf, he is sorry that he couldn't make it this morning and or this afternoon, but he said he will be joining us possibly later this afternoon. And I understand that he has some time either later today or tomorrow for during the food summit to speak. Excuse me. But Tatsulach, Oikolom Huma, Ka Latuama, Ina Moniquas, Wiatanatu, Hiked, Soyapotimki, Casey Mitchell. I just wanted to do an opening in our native Nimi Putimp language. And good afternoon, friends and family. Um, my Nimi Pu name is Sun Necklace, and my English name is Casey Mitchell. I just want to say how honored I am to be able to do the opening for the food summit. I understand that there's not a greater opportunity than right now for sovereignty and indigenous foods to come alive again. We know that there's been a lot of good work done up to this point already, not only within our tribe but other tribes, and to really be self-sufficient in in food sovereignty. And I think it's more than just growing your own foods or going out and picking your berries and roots and those things. It's really a time of um, of safety right now. And we haven't seen that more so than right now during this pandemic. I know each tribe has gone through a tough time with food safety. I know within our tribe we have done a lot of distributions, as well as we also provided a buffalo hunt to provide buffalo meat for our tribal membership. And we're definitely fortunate to be able to actually have a buffalo hunt, and that all falls all the way back to our ancestors thinking of us today and putting those in our treaty to be able to hunt and gather in usual and accustomed places. So we're able to travel to Montana and parts of Wyoming and Yellowstone to still hunt buffalo. So we were able to do that last year, or last year during the pandemic, which really helped us get through the pandemic. And we're also able to really start thinking of future ways that tribes can be self-sustaining and self-sufficient in more so than just being able to, like I mentioned before, go out and pick berries and roots and traditional berries and roots, but having to have your own gardens for your own tribe and be able to have produce that can help with families that are needy within your own people. We we definitely see, or we've all been a part of food safety sometimes in our life, and been a part of where things got tough for families, and we look to our native foods to help us get through those. And really, the food summit. This is actually my first one. Well, I've attended one in Wisconsin about 6 years ago, I think. Um, but I'm not sure if this is doesn't sound like it's very different. It sounds like that a lot of indigenous people and tribes um, are really pushing forward for food sovereignty. So I just want to say that I want to welcome all of you. I appreciate the time and effort that all of you are putting into not only this summit, but the steps forward for food sovereignty for indigenous foods in general. We uh, we can see the passion moving forward with the attendance here, but also what's going on within our own tribe. I've seen the food summit get more and more intention and starting to have this positive effect here within the Nez Perce tribe. um, of our own people. And one thing that really strikes home for me with food sovereignty is how we learn food sovereignty, how we've learned, the timing of picking berries, the timing of digging roots, the timing of going out and fishing and hunting. Um, that's all learned from our elders and our ancestors that have passed that from generation to generation. Just like our songs, our dance, our ceremonies, food has been passed down as well. And I heard Antonio in his prayer mentioned about creation. Even within our creation story, the salmon was the first one to offer itself to help our people as we came into this world. So that not only did he offer himself as food, but as tools, as strength, and in spirit. So we were able to um, really see the significance and strength in food as it became available to us within our tribe. Not only, as things that help us to nourish our bodies, but also again as tools, but in more so in strength, in spirit, because we understand that something is sacrificing itself um, um, to really nourish our bodies and give us strength. So we understand that there's a sacrifice when we go and dig our roots, and we catch salmon, or we shoot a deer. These things that we do to practice our way of life. And it's really a gratifying thought to know that um, I'm part of that. Our tribe is part of that. The people today are part of what our ancestors did a long time ago with food, and how we um, really hold it in great honor. So I just wanted to say those few words, and really also say that I've seen within tribes, and I can remember even back to the last summit I attended. I went to this breakout session where there was this Hawaiian lady, and she started out with just an acre of land. And I think within a year or 2 years, it turned into 100 acres, 150 acres. And pretty soon she had people helping her work the fields, work the plants, and she really diversified her food sovereignty in that area, and really brought um, an opportunity for the people around her to be able to be a part of that. So we understand that food, um, not only food sovereignty, but just the produce in general can really bring um, positive opportunity to the people around us. And I just wanted to share those few words with you, and really welcome again all of you for attending this summit, and look forward to um, the information and experiences that are going forward today, and also in tomorrow's sessions as well. So Makis Katsiaya, a big thank you, Oikalo Miuma, or Oikalo, to all of you. So thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Mitchell. I see that Chairman Shannon Wheeler has come on. Shannon, do you have a word for us?
Thank you, Ann. Just a lot of what the vice chairman has covered early on, and the work that's being done here with the tribe, with our water code and development of an agriculture department, and knowing the need that to supplement our natural foods, native foods, and with agriculture products, and how that's all going to develop is something that is important to the food sovereignty, according, with the pandemic, as was mentioned, that there's also the health issues that, we as tribal members and tribal citizens across the country face with the underlying conditions that, that's something that helps, I guess, behind the push for food sovereignty and being able to develop your own foods and have them at hand, and the hoarding that happened within the stores, that the importance of it is not only just for the wealth or the health of the tribe, but a combined effort of all the things that will uplift everyone within their region and what we can develop. But with that, I'd like to keep it short, and I know we're on a time schedule here, so thank you for those few words, and I do appreciate everyone that is in attendance today. Thank you.
Thank you to Chairman Wheeler and Vice Chairman Mitchell. The coalition feels very supported by our political body, and it really helps us to make our positive road going into the future. And so now I was thinking, since we went to the Zoom format, there are a number of participants from other regions across the nation with us today. And that's a good thing. I thought I would share with you some background information. The Nez Perce Tribe is a federally recognized tribe in north central Idaho with almost 3,600 citizens. Today, the Nimipu continue to exercise their treaty rights to hunt, fish, and gather on their historic lands. The tribal citizens celebrate their culture through their first foods, feasts, powwows, and traditional ceremonies, such as the Sweat Lodge. That is a traditional form of spiritual cleansing and healing. The Nez Perce people have immense ecological knowledge about the lands. Respect for the natural resources provided by the Creator has guided the Nimipu to protect the land, water, and wildlife as one of our highest priorities. We have a strong agricultural community throughout the Nez Perce Reservation with arid dry land and mild to somewhat extreme temperatures. The tribe has several plans to start growing more food for our people and diversify our agricultural base. A newly formed NEPTIC, Nez Perce Executive Council Subcommittee, has been named the Climate Change and Energy Subcommittee of our governing body, the NEPTIC. Their mission is to promote and hold themselves accountable to true sustainability, lower emissions, and reverse the effects of global warming as are affecting our natural resources. I will end with a public announcement. The HIPT Coalition has started a YouTube channel where we will post the recording of today's summit and send the link to each participant. The recording should be up and running by February 10th, 2021. Please go there after that date to see what has been added for your convenience. From now on, we will use this form of social media to keep you informed as to what is going on in the Nimipu HIPT community. And so thank you for listening to me. And now I would like to turn the mic over to my summit co-chair, Danielle Scott. Danielle is the tribe's University of Idaho Cooperative Extension Educator. She holds community classes in producing, preparing, and storing food. She works with our 4-H students and has many more areas of focus to improve the quality of life for our tribal community, including assisting to manage the community garden with other partners and reducing the effects of food insecurity. Every day offers us new purpose. I sincerely hope that all of you enjoy the program today. Danielle, I hand it off to you. Katsiaya.
Thank you, Anne. Appreciate that. Mekas Katsiaya, everybody being here today. Special thank you to Chairman Shannon Wheeler, as well as Casey Mitchell and Anne. This has been wonderful bringing this all together. I've been so excited for today. The planning committee, we've been working tirelessly since I think about September, really focusing on the summit. So thank you for being here. That being said, we're going to go ahead and move on in the agenda. The next thing we have coming up is our presentation panel. We're going to be starting with Colette DePhelps, and she's going to be presenting on harvesting, holding, and sharing with food safety in mind. Colette DePhelps is based in Moscow, Idaho. Colette's University of Idaho Extension programming area includes 10 northern counties of Idaho. More than 25 years, Colette has been working with farmers, community members, nonprofits, government agencies, and universities in the inland Northwest to develop community food systems and small farm programs. Colette is a co-founder of the Cultivating Success Sustainable Small Farms Education Program and a co-founder of the Palouse Clearwater Food Coalition. Colette serves on the City of Moscow Farmers Market Commission and as an advisor to FAIR Idaho, a new trade association for dependent food and agriculture businesses. Let's welcome Colette. Thank you.
Thank you all for having me here today, and thank you for those very powerful and poignant opening words. Food is so important to all of us as people for our personal health and for our emotional health and for our community health. And I'm really honored to be here today to talk and share some ideas about how we can look at our food and our community and the resources we have with food safety in mind. Food safety is central to our well-being. We often talk about food safety in terms of our individual or personal well-being, but we also know that it's very important to our family well-being, the structure of our family, the cohesiveness of our family, and also of our community. And when we put together this food summit as a HIPT food coalition, I was very privileged to be part of that committee. We talked a lot about what are some of the questions that we would like to address during this food summit. And one of these questions was, how is the food safety message important? And how are we going to make food safer? So one of the things that we find is that for many people, foodborne illness is something that they don't know a lot about. Like, what are the causes of foodborne illness? What are the symptoms? And sometimes those symptoms can be misinterpreted as like the stomach flu or a 24-hour flu, or, you know, how many times have you thought, oh, I just have a little stomach bug? Well, oftentimes those are actually a very mild form of foodborne illness. However, foodborne illness is not always mild. And elders, young children, and people with underlying health conditions can be at a much higher risk for some of the severe symptoms and lasting health effects that come from foodborne illness. So it's very important for us to work together to learn what makes food unsafe. And so we often talk about that can be something biological, like a pathogen. So it could be a bacteria, it could be a virus. There's other types of biological pathogens that can make us sick. Sometimes it could be chemicals in our environment or in our water, byproducts of some other process and some unintentional pollution that we're dealing with. Could also be something physical that in our processing or in our gathering, we've gotten some type of physical contaminant that we didn't mean to have within the food that we've collected. But also, food access is a food safety issue, and it is a power issue. You know, answering these questions, who determines what we have to eat and how much we have to eat? When we start to think about those questions, we think more broadly about the systems that we are embedded in and how those systems either support food safety and food access and food sovereignty, or they do not. And we also need to ask, are our sources of food the ones that we really, really want to have, the ones that are healthy, our preferred foods, the culturally important foods? Are those at risk because of outside forces? And if they are, we really need to look at how we can work together to influence those forces and make sure that our food is safe. So there's some general best practices that we can follow around food safety. And the four basics are, you know, that we really want to focus on cleaning, washing our hands, and surfaces. These are things we can do as individuals. You know, most foodborne illness is actually a fecal oral route. And so washing hands is really central. Also thinking about separating our foods so that we don't cross-contaminate. And when we talk about that, we're talking about keeping our herbs, our fruits and vegetables, the plants that we gather, separate from the meat proteins and the eggs or other things that we are consuming, and thinking about how we can clean and sanitize surfaces so that we don't inadvertently cross-contaminate our food. There's a lot of materials now available about cooking to the proper temperature and checking that with a thermometer. So we have some very simple tools available to ensure that we can protect our food safety and kill those pathogens that might be present in our food. And then we also know more about chilling our food and how to refrigerate it properly. So these are some of the hands-on things that we can do as individuals. And we can take those same principles and think about them for food safety when we're out gathering in the wild, when we're harvesting in the garden, or when we're out hunting. So, we can make plans for how hand washing is going to happen when we're outside. And so when we think about that, there might be some really simple answers. For instance, helping people understand how easy and inexpensive it is to build a portable hand washing station. Or maybe we want to have a community cache of hand washing stations that people can check out. And we can provide soaps that are safe to use in the environment so that we're not chemically contaminating our resources inadvertently when we're trying to make our food safe by washing our hands. Also, cleaning and sanitizing our harvest and storage containers is really important, and understanding that we can't sanitize a surface that's not clean. And so you can think about that in terms of hand washing. If your hands are dirty, then you put a hand sanitizer on. That's not going to kill all of the bacteria and viruses on your hand, because you have a layer between your hand and that sanitizer. So thinking about cleaning and sanitizing our containers is really important. And then how do we store our food, and think about how we can store that in a safe way. And that means we really need to scout for pests in those storage areas and exclude those critters that could carry foodborne pathogens. So we're looking overall at how we manage the equipment that we have for hunting and gathering and for harvesting in the garden. People learn best by doing, and I think hands-on learning is really central to food safety, and that people learn in groups, and that makes learning really fun. So thinking about developing our educational programs in a way that they're multi-age, how can an older child mentor a younger child? And that's just such an amazing partnership and skill development to have those types of mentorships. Focusing on families and looking at the multiple generations in the family, sharing the knowledge that comes from elders with children and incorporating that with maybe some new skills that they could learn, or looking at other ways to engage social groups. So where are people? How can we bring things to people and engage in really fun activities? This picture is actually a cooking class that Danielle did at a food summit a couple years ago. And it was an amazing time of learning, camaraderie, and there was talking about food safety, about washing hands and separating things. And so it was just so powerful to be together and have that experience. And then there's looking at community capacity building and thinking about professional development for teachers within our schools, for other educators, and training volunteers, because we can't do this with one or two people. We need to spread the knowledge throughout our community and think about who are those mentors that we could bring in to work with our youth, to work with our social groups, to be in our garden. So who are those people? And I think a lot of those people are you, the people that are here today that really care. But it's really important for us to remember that we can't just hire one person to direct a program and find success. We really need to do it together. The other thing is that we need to make healthy and safe food choices easy, which means we need to change the menu. And where can we change those menus? Well, one thing we can do is we can provide our youth with the best possible food choices. And I really believe that the food we feed our youth tells our youth how much we care about them. And are we living in alignment with our values and with our culture? Our food reflects that every single day. And one of the ways that children really do get a lot of their food is through child nutrition programs in the school. And that is one place where we can make a difference. We can change the school menu and focus on food that is local, seasonal, sustainably, and culturally appropriate. We can also look at other nutrition programs, for instance, at the casino. What is the casino serving? Is there an opportunity to have a local seasonal menu that people are able to choose from, to incorporate product from regional farms, to think about how we tell that story in the menus that we offer to people? So those are just some ways about changing the menu. And then developing community spaces. It's really wonderful to think about how we can grow, process, and preserve food together. And so developing and investing in resources to maintain and operate community gardens, demonstration and teaching farms that cultivate healthy and preferred foods are really important. And when we design those facilities, we need to have that larger picture of food safety in mind. We need to be thinking about climate change, thinking about sustainability and renewable resources. So how can we build green infrastructure that's available to families and small businesses? And how can we not only think about the processing, but how to store that food in a way that's accessible and very safe? So training and coordinated use of these facilities is really important. And there's a lot of people out there that can help with that within our region. We are really rich with resources. So I really wanted to point out that this photo is the Tawasan First Nation Farm School that is in British Columbia. And this school is an amazing model of a partnership between tribal people and a university to develop a teaching school that is building the capacity for Native peoples to feed themselves and to start small businesses. So thinking about that, working together, bringing our diverse experience, our knowledge and skills, and perhaps most important, our passion to the table is what this is going to take. Here we see two of community leaders. We see Anne and we see Stephanie, and this is at a local food, local places meeting where we were talking about, like, what's the vision? Where do we want to go? What are the resources that we have? And we really need to be part of this community dialogue and a consistent part of the larger dialogue around the intersections of climate change, food sovereignty, and food safety. And the Nez Perce Tribe has done an amazing job at laying that foundation. We need to translate these joint community assessments into visions and into institutional policy. When we have policy, that's the foundation for us to get resources to move forward. And developing developmental programs with strategic action plans is really critical. So we need to form and be active participants in our local and regional coalitions and working groups. So that means that we're bringing together the power of the community, the individuals and volunteers with passion, with our local government and with our regional resources. And then finally, strategic change creates ripple effects. And we really saw that when we did a ripple effects map of the Lapwai Community Garden that Danielle leads. And in that process, we saw the amazing impact that something as geographically small, with such a small physical footprint, can make on an entire community and beyond that community. And how that garden can be integral to developing new things like a community farm and sharing education and nutrition and access to food. So really lasting change, I believe, arises from shared values and a shared vision. And that in that, it's so important to honor and celebrate success. And that honoring and celebrating success re-energizes us to do the work ahead. And I just want to say I am very grateful for the Nez Perce HIPT Food Coalition for doing this whole program of honoring and celebration, and also providing us an opportunity to be re-energized to work together for the future. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Appreciate all that wonderful information, Colette. So Colette's going to be available a little bit later on into today's agenda when we go into the breakout rooms. Next we have coming up is a recorded video that Mackenzie is going to share, and it is going to be from Dr. Barbara Rasco and Dr. Glenn Bledsoe. Dr. Barbara Rasco is a scientist, engineer, and attorney internationally recognized for her expertise in food law, agriculture, processing, and food quality. Dr. Rasco most recently served as the director of the Joint Washington State University and University of Idaho School of Food Science. Her research expertise in food microbiology, food quality, safety, and nutritional properties, and process design. Dr. Rasco has worked extensively in agriculture and food sectors important to the Northwest, primarily specialty crops in both small and large-scale operations, and with seafood and dairy. She continues to work closely with regional manufacturing extension partnerships and has provided technical assistance to companies for over 30 years. Dr. Rasco has served on the advisory boards of Washington Impact, the World Foods Logistic Organization, Global Cold Chain Alliance, and the Western Regional Aquaculture Consortium. Dr. Glenn Bledsoe will not be able to be here with us today, but he is in the video. He lives in Laramie, Wyoming, and is an internationally recognized expert in food harvest, processing, marketing, and agribusiness, as well as related economic development. He has additional expertise in fisheries, aquaculture, natural resource utilization, and post-harvest processing, including the cold chain, refrigerator processing, storage, and transportation, food safety and counter bioterrorism, management and research. He retired in 1990 as president of a Seattle, Alaska-based seafood company, subsequently returning to university to achieve advanced degrees. Since then, he has applied his expertise and education working to improve fisheries, agriculture, food safety, as well as to work in food and fisheries economic development internationally in over 73 countries. He is currently presenting food safety and food processing courses and serving as the senior advisor to the Wyoming Food Coalition. Dr. Bledsoe is also a retired U.S. Air Force officer. With that, we'll go ahead and turn it over to Mackenzie.
Hi, I'm Barbara Rasco, and I'm Dean of the College of Agriculture and Natural Resources at the University of Wyoming, and very happy to be here with you today. I used to be with Washington State University and the University of Idaho, worked very closely with the Columbia River tribes.
Hi, I'm Glenn Bledsoe. I'm with Extension here at the University of Wyoming now, and I also used to be with the School of Food Science. That was Washington State University and University of Idaho. And once again, it's a pleasure to be here today. And we've been asked to address 3 questions. So let's take a look at them, and we'll do that together. Thank you. Well, there we are. We'll get it going now. Barb, why don't you start off?
So one of the things we'd like to speak about today is food safety and how that relates to some of the issues that we've had with tribal fisheries over the years and how those issues might be improved. So here are the 3 questions. How are we going to improve our adaptability to the new climate by better storage practices while maintaining safe food practices? How are we going to identify and make sure we relieve the situation of unhealthy food choices by individuals in our community that can lead to dangerous outcomes? And how is the food safety message important, and how are we going to make food safer? Glenn, go ahead.
So, in regards to the first question, adaptability is how we're going to have to approach to it, and that's respond to serve the people better. In other words, we have to respond to the factors of climate change. And climate change is nothing new. It happens about every 20,000 to 200,000 years, and it's happening again. We refer to those as ice ages, by the way, in the past.
So one of the factors that we need to consider with food safety, particularly for fisheries, is improving storage. Cleaning and gutting are going to be important practices, and making sure we do those in a sanitary manner, in addition to packaging that's going to protect the fish, refrigeration that is both adequate and sufficient to keep the fish cold, and distribution and traceability.
So part of maintaining food safety is to ensure that that production and consumer level must be being both. So what this means is if we're doing it for commercial purposes, selling it, or for holding it for food banks, holding it for tribal elders, or just storing it for the tribe for ceremonial purposes, that requires, by law now even, but it requires that we have an increased level of safety, because we may be addressing and providing food to people that may be very susceptible to pathogenic food problems. So at the consumer level in particular, and at the production level, we really need to develop practical education efforts that are known to be effective and work. So we have to do something through, might be through if university can assist through our extension, might be those comparable people at the reservation, at the tribes, that primarily, they're the ones that are the best to do it, by the way, because they understand the local people. And so as classes are delivered and education efforts, those have got to be ones that are accepted, first of all, by the people receiving it, and also have to be ones that are appropriate for them.
So one of the most important factors we think is going to be the development of tribal level community-based refrigerated storage and processing, so that fish that are harvested, on the river can be held for public use in a safe manner.
So
for our second question, we're looking at how to identify and ensure that people within the community can make food choices that are both safe and are going to promote their health. So a major factor we think is, how can we improve healthy food choices, particularly for our elders and for others who may be vulnerable, such as our young people, to ensure that they have access to both affordable and nutritious food. And one of the things that's very important here to recognize is that fish is an excellent choice. It's very high quality protein, has oils and fats that are essential for neural development in young people, and it's a very tasty food. But we do have to make sure that the food is of high quality and it's handled in a safe manner. These are all very critical factors.
And once again, as we're addressing this, Barb and I are addressing from the viewpoint of seafood experts and in relation primarily to fish. But it should not be restricted to that. These same conditions should be applied also to traditional foods, as well as fruits and vegetables that you may have access to for canning and preservation. So there again, we need to improve the availability of healthy food. And we also need to improve overall health by coordinate monitoring of food-related health issues at the local or tribal level, as well as, what we're doing there is looking to see when we have major problems, such as diabetes and such, that we can actually tie it to foods that may be not as good for people with diabetes like myself, and perhaps foods that are less adversely affecting the blood sugar and such.
So one of the recommendations we have is for communities to conduct local surveys of eating preferences and practices, and also of how food is prepared in the home or in food service establishments, to see whether there are ways through people's preferences to make sure that we can get them healthy, affordable food in the form that they would prefer to eat it.
And oftentimes we'll concentrate on the foods for the elders, as they're the most susceptible to disease. But I think we need to start a lot earlier. We need to start with the young people, the people in grade school and middle school and high school, and then those afterwards, if we're going to develop and really make healthy changes in the dining and the eating of tribal people.
Next slide.
That's it.
Yeah. So how important is the food safety message, and how are we going to make sure that people understand how to make their food safer? So it's definitely going to be important to have community messaging that is effective. So our community leadership needs to emphasize food safety and also be able to provide resources as needed to maintain food in a safe condition. So we're not looking here at any type of regulation, looking at support from the community and community leadership. We need to have reliable energy within communities, reliable electricity, and also reliable refrigeration systems to maintain fish products, but just about any other food that we might be concerned with, whether they're dairy products, fresh fruits and vegetables, or meat. We have to be able to emphasize good home handling practices and provide education, potentially in the public schools too, so that young people learn how to follow best practices. Thermometers are very important both for cooking and for maintaining proper refrigeration. So are sanitizers, detergents, and other materials that we could use to keep food safe. And it might possibly be a good community program to ensure that these are available to members who might not otherwise have access to either sanitizers or thermometers, to come up with ways to provide these resources for people, along with the training on how to use them properly.
And so once again, saying is how to make food safer. A key factor that is education and training related to best practices at the relevant level to the individual receiving that training. We can also facilitate better practice by improving in loose site facilities, particularly sanitation and hygiene at those locations. We can also help by developing community processing facilities that might include smoking, drying, and freezing, and with trained assistance available when needed. So
thank you very much.
Appreciate the opportunity to speak with you.
That was wonderful. Thank you so much. Like I said, I know that Dr. Bledsoe couldn't be here today, but we do have Dr. Barbara Rusko, who will again be in another one of the breakout sessions here just coming up. So you'll get an opportunity to talk to her more about those topics. Next, we have Valerie Segrest. She'll be doing a presentation here shortly. Valerie is an enrolled member of the Muckleshoot Indian Tribe. She serves as the NAFS, NAFFS, which is a Native American Agriculture Fund, Regional Director for Native Food and Knowledge Systems. Ms. Segrest earned her bachelor's degree in Human Nutrition and Health Sciences from Bastyr University and her Master's of Arts degree in Environment and Community for Anatok University. She was a Kellogg Food and Community Fellow at the University of Agriculture and Trade Policy. For more than a decade, Ms. Segrest has dedicated her work in the field of nutrition and human health science towards the efforts of the food sovereignty movement and catalyzing food security strategies rooted in education, awareness, and overcoming barriers to accessing traditional foods for traditional communities throughout North America. By utilizing a community-based participatory action research approach, she has worked to organize tribal community members in grassroots efforts towards strengthening sustainable food systems that are culturally relevant and nutritionally appropriate. With that, I will turn it over to Valerie Segrest.
Hello there. My name is Valerie Segrest, and I am a member of the Muckleshoot Tribe, and I work as the Regional Director of Native Food and Knowledge Systems for the Native American Agriculture Fund. We are a spend-down charitable trust fund that only has a shelf life of 20 years. So actually, we're at 18 years and counting down. We provide grants to Native-led nonprofits, tribal governments, educational organizations, and CDFIs. Our mission is to support Native American farmers and ranchers and to help revitalize and strengthen the food system so that we can feed the future. And we only have 18 years left, and I work with a group of people who are so passionate about making sure that work gets done. I feel honored every single day to think through those strategies with them. So check out our website for more information on our grant making opportunities. We'll be pushing out a new call for applications, I believe April 1st or somewhere in the beginning of April. If you have any questions, email us at grants@nativeamericanagriculturefund.org. Whew, that's a long email, but they'll give you more information. My background is in nutrition, and I'm also a student of clinical herbal medicine. I have a master's degree in food systems strategy work and have led a food sovereignty project in my community for over a decade now. And but mostly I'm a plant geek and obsessed with the teachings of the plant people. Whenever I'm faced with a difficult decision or a challenge, I always think about what the plants would do. As Native people, we understand the deep relationship we have with the natural world, even if there are no words to articulate it, even if we are in constant processing of it. What we know is the plants are our greatest teachers, and they're waiting for us right outside the door. Without a spoken word and through mindful observation, we can learn so much from the way they grow, extracting nutrients from the soil and sunlight, as us pitiful humans are unable to do. They embody the medicine and oftentimes make their nutrient-rich bodies available for us to continue to thrive in this world and on the land. And that is why their teachings and their life is so honored in our traditions and culture, because we rely on them to exist, to shape us as humans, more than just physically, but socially, emotionally, communally, mentally. So today I'm going to share with some of you that, and then hopefully have time to be in more discussion with you about it during the breakout sessions. First of all, I want to talk about cottonwood. Cottonwood, the social emotional teaching, according to my wonderful plant allies and friends, is a wellspring. And tribes throughout Indian country regard cottonwood trees as the tree of life. Like a bountiful source of life, cottonwood send their roots deep into the earth soil and draw massive amounts of water up to the surface. It then stores the water in its trunk, some up to 60 gallons. And like the most inspiring set of lungs, it breathes it out into the atmosphere through its leaves. Isn't that cool? Cottonwood respiration. This activity actually encourages the generation of raindrops. And so we see cottonwood and we ask ourselves how we might also be sources of a wellspring of life. Cottonwood reminds us to connect to a source of strength. In many Native cultures, cottonwood is also considered to be associated with the stars. We are also considered to be descendants of the star people. If you take a look at the center of a cottonwood branch, I think I have a picture right there. There are tiny little stars inside them. Another reminder of our interconnectedness and ability to tap into the strength of the living environment all around us. You can make an infused oil out of the buds, and this is actually happening right now. So you'll see these little cottonwood buds on the ground. Hopefully after a windstorm, a big tall branch. The biggest, fattest one seemed to be at the center of the tallest tree. But after a windstorm, they can crack and break and fall to the ground and hopefully don't hurt anything on their way down. And then we can go gather those little buds and make an infused oil out of them. This oil is a great remedy for swollen joints, sore muscles, and because it has a little bit of salicin in it, it's actually related to willow, the ancestor of aspirin. It is actually a really effective pain reliever. Topically, cottonwood also helps to heal burns, wounds, and can help with eczema as well. There's also wild rose, one of my favorite plants, my first child's middle name. The enchanting rose has any other flower charmed as many as you have. Royalty of flowers, symbol of perpetual adoration, encouraging the spirit and passions from deep inside our human hearts like Immortal love, rose blossoms year after year for an estimated 35 million years. The resilience of a rose reminds us of what is precious. Their piercing thorns remind us to protect what is cherished in a deeply loving way, of course. Not only are roses the global symbol of enduring love, they're also good medicine and marvelous food. Eating rose petals bestows healthy flavonoids, antioxidants, vitamins, and minerals. It's no surprise that the antioxidants are specific for strengthening our hearts and blood vessels. And the astringent action in the body tightens inflamed tissues, soothing sore throats and coughs. Rich in vitamins A, B, C, E, and K, and minerals, including calcium, iron, and phosphorus, roses are used to purify and strengthen the blood. Then, as if it couldn't get any better, rose flowers develop into beautiful red ripened fruits called rose hips. That's the photo on the far left of my screen. Throughout history, rose hips have been used to treat and ward off coughs and colds. Any variety of rose can be used in cooking or medicine making as long as it is not sprayed or chemically treated. However, each one will have a distinct flavor and use. Keep in mind that the more fragrant the rose, the more potent the flavor. So wild roses like the dwarf rose or nootka and swamp rose, which are native to the Northwest. And then there's also Rosa rugosa, which is like that big rose that you see on the side of roads. And it's actually from the Orient, but it makes the most fragrant smell and has been adopted into several people's herbal apothecaries here in the Northwest. But many different habitats ranging from open to wooded and dry to moist locations, sun or shade, fuchsia to blushing pink. As long as they are in clean habitats, wild rose is the perennial favorite to harvest. So you want to harvest your roses in the early summer when they are the most vibrant and fragrant. An early morning stroll just after the dew has dried is the best time to pick. Think good thoughts as you pinch the petals off the flower, leaving that inner part there so that it can become pollinated and turn into those rose hips. And if you wish to eat the petals fresh, use them right away. Sprinkle them on salads, impress your dinner guests, infuse them in some water with lemon or strawberry. Oh, so good. I can't wait for spring or summer. It's such a healthy, uplifting beverage. Chop the petals up and stir them into a softened butter for a fancy spread on biscuits and crackers or muffins or whatever. Or you could place fresh petals in a basket and let them wilt for a day, then transfer them to a clean glass jar and pour some warmed honey on top of them. Make sure that the flowers are completely covered with the honey, and then you screw a lid on and you put it in the sun and let the sun do its special thing. Every day you want to take the lid off and wipe that condensation off so it doesn't turn into like a fermented honey wine, unless that's what you want to happen. But at least after 1 week or maybe 3, I don't know, strain the honey out, and then you have this rose infused sweetener that can be used in lemonades or teas. It can be drizzled on some peanut butter toast or over some nice cheese on a charcuterie platter. Oh my gosh, it's so fancy. I love rose. But also don't forget and I also want to say you could dry the petals out. I try not to use a dehydrator because it can get rabid on you really quick and just turn your petals into charred little bits of pieces, and that's sad. We don't need burnt particulates hanging around. That's not fun. But the easiest way to dry them is to simply just lay them out on the sun and on a dry day, lay them out on a towel outside in the sun. And then you can store them in a sealed glass jar in a dark cupboard somewhere. You don't want that light to hit them because it will subdue their vibrant color over time, and that's sad too. So dried rose petals are great steeped in hot water to make a tasty rose tea, or you can actually sprinkle them into like a regular cup of black tea with some cardamom. Oh my gosh, it's just the most amazing flavor. But also don't forget about those rose hips that you spared during your early summer harvest, because they'll ripen to full fruits by fall. And they have this incredibly potent level of vitamin C. Just 3 rose hips have the same amount of vitamin C as an entire orange does. And my girls love to powder them and then add apple juice and make an instant rose hip jam, which is super delicious. I'm not a jam person, but I will eat rose hip jam all day and night. But yeah, so increase your vitamin C intake, and just remember that rose is a legend. It is royalty of all flowers, with its ability to captivate, invigorate, and immunize so many living things. It's no mystery how it survived millennia and with such timeless elegance. Its medicine is a prescription that transpires in time of transition from birth to death, urging us to hold these challenges close to our hearts, reminding us that as you get to know the rose, they are the facilitators of evolution, bridging the gaps between beauty and medicine, in the heart and the mind. Please enjoy rose this year. I also wanted to talk to you today about dandelion. These are my precious little girls, Gia and Mazzy. And I just love how my children are obsessed with dandelions. I know, this is how crazy of a plant person I am. When they blossom in our pasture, every year, the girls go out there picking the flowers, and then when they go to seed, they run around picking and sending their beautiful wishes out into the universe upon their sweet little breath. Sure, they are reseeding the dandelions all over the neighborhood, and I'm sure my neighbors are very grateful for that. But there's something precious about their affinity to this 30-million-year-old plant teacher. Something is so inspiring about that plant's ability to draw little humans in and perpetuate its resilience. What a problem solver this plant is. Wouldn't it have to be to have thrived for so many millennia? Every part of the dandelion is useful. In the springtime, the fresh green leaves can be eaten as a spring green. And at this stage, the leaf is tender and easy to chew. It's slightly bitter, but that can be remedied by sauteing it in a little bit of olive oil and garlic, and then adding a squeeze of lemon on the top. The bitter flavors of spring, which are just around the corner, help us wake up from our winter slumber. They help us rid our body of things that we no longer need by encouraging our sleepy winter digestion to activate and then get rid of all that excess so that we can build our internal strength for the year, so we can live all the dreams and goals we set for ourselves during the wintertime. Bitters like those from the dandelion spring leaves stimulate our digestion and our medicine that makes our liver very happy. And our livers deserve to be happy. Later on, they send up beautiful flowers, buttery yellow and orange. These dandelion flowers, I don't know, I just feel like they're just smiling big at the sun. They can be harvested and the petals are rich with beta carotenes. They can be added fresh to biscuits or salads and boost its nutritional value because they're really high in that vitamin A. Then, as if it weren't already offering us enough, dandelion leaves become a little more fibrous as the seasons carry on. They are perfect for harvesting and drying out as a tea with so much medicine. Dandelion leaf tea is great at addressing swelling in the body, specifically the lower body swelling. And that's because it makes the kidneys happy, and it helps manage our internal waters by providing potassium, which balances out our electrolytes internally and helps excrete excess water. As we turn to the fall season, all of that vital energy from the flower and the stem and the leaf returns to the roots of dandelion. So dandelion roots fatten up as all the energy is moved there for winter storage. Generally, dandelion root helps our body release waste products that no longer serve us, just as the trees are letting go of their leaves. We can also become attuned to the seasons by drinking dandelion root tea. It once again supports the liver, helping to break down waste products, dietary toxins, hormones, and just general metabolic waste. This helps the elimination process and for our bodies to feel less inflamed and reactive. So I like to harvest the roots, dry them out, chop them up, and then I'll add them to some cold water and boil them for about 20 minutes. And then I add hazelnut milk or oat milk in there and make a delicious dandelion root latte. It's so fancy, and even my little girls love it. But dandelion just has mastered this problem solving and its ability to live through the rise and fall of entire civilizations and tectonic shifts and Jurassic Parks. It can grow in cement cracks on a sidewalk. No matter what anyone tries to do to the dandelion, it finds a way to thrive. So how can we be like the dandelion? How can we use our brilliant human minds and hearts to find a way to find life eternal while also being big medicine for the world at the same time? I just love how everyone tries to eradicate it, but it's this hidden gem of medicine in so many ways. And then finally, I want to talk a little bit about elderberry because I hear that there's such a buzz at Nez Perce around blue elder. And I'm so excited to hear that because it's one of my favorite plants that I have been just stocking for years now, utilizing, but perhaps also becoming the most famous in current modern life. It's like this rising star in all pharmaceutical industries. This is the blue elderberry, and it might look a little bit different from where you're from. This is actually a cultivated variety that I have in my garden, but the blue elder has more of a frosty sheath on the outside of the berry, and is just as prolific though where you're at. This beautiful shrub slash tree, it's sort of like a bulky tree. It inspires resilience and regeneration in so many ways. In the late winter, you can actually take a cutting from a blue elder and then submerge it in water for a few weeks. This resilient plant will send out roots from that shooting. So then, boom, you have your very own elderberry tree you can plant in your yard. That's exciting. But what does elders teach us about regeneration? About our human desire to go on living through having babies or creating positive change or blazing our name on a sidewalk somewhere. It's all the one thing all humans have in common, that we want to leave a mark on this planet, and hopefully a good one, you know? So elder medicine is graceful, it's comforting and kind. Its actions on our immune system help to build our stamina and ward off viral infections. It helps us create strong armor if taken in small doses regularly. Our immune system is that interface between our inner world and our outer world. It's sort of like our built-in human defense system, I guess, like an army. And it just lies right under your skin, all over your body. It's really a special system in the body. I love the immune system. It helps us create strong armor. So this is particularly elderberry has an affinity to the immune system. So even if you have contracted a viral infection, you know, like the flu or some cold rushing through your community, elderberry can help decrease the length of time that the virus can survive in your body. It supports so many systems also, really. It's not just the immune system, it also helps support our urinary system and our cardiovascular system. It's and even our respiratory system. So it just sort of all around helps to boost up and bolster our stamina. And you can make elderberry into delicious syrups by brewing a really strong tea and then mixing that tea with equal parts honey or maple syrup and then storing it in the fridge. I take 1 tablespoon a day for just general immune boosting, or if I'm feeling sick, I'll take 2 tablespoons a few times a day to help break a fever, very gently break a fever, or eliminate, help eliminate things that are unwanted in the body. It has recently received some bad press during the time of COVID, but is really undeserving of that really. The claims are based on one poorly interpreted research study and is factually unsupported. Precisely 0 cases are documented where elderberry led to adverse responses in flu patients. It can lead to issues with autoimmune patients and should be used with caution for folks who have autoimmune disorders. But for tens of thousands of years, this plant has been the cause of 0 cytokine storm issues. None have been reported, but anyways, I digress. Elderberry is delicious and it inspires us to regenerate. It's a food, not some, intense medicine, but it does help our body in so many ways. What more could we actually need at this precise moment in time? With all that is going on, let's make sure that we keep each other safe by socially distancing, employing impeccable health standards, and bringing more of these ancient teachings and wisdoms of the plant people into our life. They are our medicine, physically, but also mentally and socially. They have a lot to teach us about problem solving and resilience and regeneration and protection. We have to build up our community immunity, and elderberry is a good reminder of that. Actually, all these plants remind us of that. So I want to send some love to you all, and also just love to the plant people. Thank you for having me here today. I look forward to having more conversations with you. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that, Valerie. We really greatly appreciate it. And we're looking forward to having you in a breakout room here next coming up. So what we are going to do in the breakout rooms, we have the 3 presenters. One is going to be in each one of the rooms. We also have moderators that will be in those rooms with them. So Mackenzie is going to open up the breakout rooms, identify who's going to be in which room, and please feel free to jump into a room. This is your opportunity to have your individual questions asked to the presenter and answered, and a little bit more information we will glean from the group. As everybody here is from all over the place, we really look forward to that. So I'll let Mackenzie take it away and open up some breakout rooms, and then the presenters will be jumping in those.
Awesome. Thank you, Danielle. I'm about to open the 3 breakout rooms. They're each titled with the name of the presenter. So you can go into a room with Valerie, and then you can come back after a few minutes to our main session and go to another room to join another speaker if you so choose, or you can stay in one room the whole time. I'll be here in the main room if you need any kind of help or support. So feel free to jump back in and ask any questions. So here we go. Welcome back, friends.
Yes, thank you. We had some really rich discussion going on, so we were continued on a little bit past the time frame, but hopefully everybody had an opportunity to ask your questions or share whatever you wanted to share in those breakout rooms. We have the next few minutes to be kind of debriefing about that a little bit. Does anyone from Colette, do you want to share a little bit about what went on in your room?
Sure, just a second. I'm sorry, I'm dealing with a little technical piece right now. Did you lose co-host, Mackenzie? Okay, so the hosting went back to you, Danielle. So can you make
Sure, yes.
Mackenzie a co-host again? I don't know how that happened, but like Valerie said, there's always a technical challenge.
There was a little snafu. I was just sitting and spinning in space trying to get into Valerie's room. And so I couldn't do anything but log completely out. So that's what happened with that. So I think we're back up and running. yeah, with host and co-host.
Okay, great. Well, I think Sarah was going to share on behalf of our group.
Okay, great. Sarah?
Hi. So we really talked about nutritional access and food or in schools for students, how to utilize grants and local resources to provide local, fresh, nutritious food. We also talked about, we have people from Florida and from all over in our group. So we kind of talked about the differences in spaces, how like down in Florida, there's a lot more, specifically South Florida, there's less farms, there's more, just less farms, less access to local growers. So ways around that through farmers markets, through SNAP, even through using different resources to make it accessible to everybody, regardless of their socioeconomic status. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah. We had Sherry in the with Dr. Roscoe. Do you want to share a little bit?
Okay, so what we were talking about and what Barbara brought up was a really good point about, it's the final usage for some of the food itself. So when you're looking at food safety, are you looking at it, is it going to consumers? Are you selling it? Or is it for special ceremonies? Is it going to be given to elders? Is it going to be given to youth? Those are the things that all the considerations that you have to think about in order for you to look at some of the food safety things and concerns that you have to follow, and especially meeting those guidelines, whatever that last person is going to be, and using that. And then when you're doing that, the other thing you have to look at is planned storage. Where is it going to be stored? Is it going to be safe? And for those people that are going to be using it in the final end. And then how do we look at testing? If we were going to have some of our products tested, if they're going to be tested, whether it's through university or professional services, those type of things. And then how do we also maintain that intellectual property rights for some of the products that you could be looking at, whether they are roots, berries, those have to be, be kept intact. So, and there are different ones that you can work with independently and figure out a way that you can make it safe, not only for your intellectual property rights that you need to keep to yourself and keep on your vest. Those are really important. The other thing is looking at is when we're looking at that is maybe considerations for other people, and it's all food systems, because it's not just fish, it's not just elk or deer or whatever, garden or natural products that might be coming from gathering. So you have to look at every different area of those products that they are, and think about them and think about the specificity of where those are going to go. So it's really important, especially maintain that cultural knowledge for those type of products.
Thank you, Sherry. That was great. So I was in the room with Valerie Segrest, and we had some really great discussion. She shared a little bit more information about the plants and the gathering and the foraging that she does. We also had a great conversation about how to maybe reorganize your garden to make sure that that's going to be the safest way to go about that. We also had a good discussion about charcoal and how charcoal, not barbecue charcoal, but homemade charcoal, and the benefits to your system, and also to the ground, as well as when you're growing your gardens. And so some really great discussions within there. So I believe all of the rooms that were being recorded, and so we'll have that to share with everybody later on as well. So that being said, we are running just a little bit behind on schedule. We had scheduled a break at 3:20. but I think we'll still be able to manage that. We are kind of doing fine. So anyone else from any one of those rooms, did something really ignite a thought in you that you wanted to share with the group from those discussions in the breakout rooms?
I wanted to share one thing that Daniel shared in our group, and he's with the Oneida tribe. And he said that the Sault Ste. Marie tribe has traditional healers within their tribal health clinic who actually grow and prepare and prescribe herbs to tribal members. And it just sounded like such an amazing program. And so I just wanted to let people know that he shared that.
That's awesome. Daniel, did you want to add anything else to that for the rest of us that didn't get to enjoy that? Is he still on here?
Sorry, this is Daniel here. How's it going? Yeah, I just was explaining that here in Oneida, we're kind of reorganizing our food system, and we're just connecting all the dots from the start of our food system with the soil, making sure we have clean, good soil, clean water, and then moving on down the line to our cannery, from producing our foods to getting our processing down, and then distributing those processed canned goods or packaged goods to our market, and then getting them into the hands of our community members, our consumers, but then also at the same time providing education around food sovereignty and how individuals and individual homes can sustain themselves. And so we've done, throughout the pandemic, we've done a number of educational videos and around gardening, and then around canning and cooking. And so we want to get our individual families to be able to provide for themselves in a healthy way, utilizing our indigenous foods. So I think previously, in years past, there's been like a handful of community members that have that indigenous knowledge on how to grow and cook our indigenous foods, but it wasn't, I guess, a widely spread knowledge. And so it's kind of for some, it's kind of mystifying. But we've taken a proactive approach to educate our people, having numerous classes and things like that. So now, at this point, we have a handful of community members that really taken the bull by the horn, so to speak, and started different co-ops, a white corn growers co-op, and they're starting other types of similar co-ops to produce and work with each other. And so it's kind of a cool thing. And then also we're making that connection between our food chain and our food supply to our healthcare system. And that's, to me, is incredibly important. And because how we, what we put in our bodies is gonna affect the outcome of our health. And so I think from a Western societal perspective, we have been, I guess in a more national global sense, been looking at healthcare from a one perspective, that is more of a sick care and treating those symptoms with these processed pharmaceuticals, versus taking that proactive and preemptive approach and focus on prevention and feeding ourselves healthy diets. And so there's, I think we have to change our systems, our healthcare systems, and our food system. And like I was saying in the breakout, I think some tribal folks and maybe some smaller communities and organization groups already have that concept, but on a broader scale, on a more larger societal level, our system is backwards. And we're getting ourselves sick because of the foods we eat, and then we're dependent upon that sick care or our current healthcare system. So we kind of got to flip things around, and that's the approach we're starting to take here in Oneida. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, Daniel. I had the pleasure of being able to go over to Sault Ste. Marie, I guess it was about over a year and a half ago. Extension was over there, and we got to learn a lot. It was a beautiful area. Loved learning more about what Michigan and the Midwest has going on. Brenda's nodding her head. She was there. We had a great time over there. It's just gorgeous. So thank you for sharing that. I know that there is some conversation going on in our room. Spring, Alaska, I know, was talking about some things, and I think that she's had some issues with climate things and fire. And
that's way out there.
So she might want to share a little bit about that. Spring, did you have anything to add to the conversation about what we were talking about in the room?
Oh, can you just ask that question to me again? Sorry, I was multitasking.
That's okay. No, I totally understand. So Daniel was sharing about what they have going on over in Oneida, addressing some of the changes with climate change and whatnot. And I know that you've had some adversities this year on your farm and had to manage through those and work through those. And I was just wondering if you wanted to share a little bit about that.
Yeah, we had a massive hailstorm that came through about May 29th that basically wiped out our farm. We had just planted most of our fields with all of our traditional foods, some of that rare ancestral native seed, because we're a tribal seed bank also, our farm is. And it kind of wiped it out. One of the lessons I learned from climate change was just to kind of protect our resilient seed. And so, instead of planting 50 of something now, I'll only plant 10 because I'm trying to protect that historical seed because there's not a lot of it or varieties of it. We also dealt with some wildfire smoke damage to our plant materials. So what we're doing this year is we purchased more greenhouses. I took out some small business COVID loans last year in the mid-fall, and we've just purchased more greenhouses to help protect kind of the plant material that would normally be out in the fields, some of our native plants and our medicine. So that's kind of what I've learned to do instead of reflecting back on what didn't work is to move forward and project into new learning concepts of how we can preserve that minimal amount of tribal seed that we have and be more resourceful with our planting just to preserve those plant materials. And just hope that if it does happen again, which I feel like the weather is continuing to change and be more predictable, some of these very tumultuous events that come in really hot and kind of get you really good. We're just looking at planning better and being more resourceful. So I hope that's helpful.
Thank you, Spring. I greatly appreciate that. Does anybody else have anything they want to discuss or share that they learned from the small group session that they were just in?
I just want to add the whole aspect of guilt is fascinating, where just like the three sisters, you're using the same amount of soil, but having three different kinds of plants growing because they all sort of are symbiotic. So I think it's pretty amazing that you can grow more from less amount of space by doing that, and also going vertical potentially.
Yes, we had some great discussion in our room. Lolly was sharing some of the strategic ways that she is planting, utilizing that Three Sisters garden system and the success that they're finding with that. So yes, we are going to, there wasn't anything else that anybody wanted to share. We're going to move on to the next piece. Okay. We do have a poll coming up. I'm going to go ahead and pop that in there. If everybody would please respond to that. We're trying to get a little bit of more information as far as who we have at the table today. Every year we we've put this on, we start thinking, what do people want? What should we do next year? Who's our audience? So this is one of the poll questions we are hoping to be able to answer. And we thought you might find it interesting too, to see who are your colleagues in this setting today. So it looks like we have a few more people to be voting. We will be following up with a survey that will go out to all of the participants today. Been watching the numbers. I think we had a high point of 63 people. Today we're down to 48. So we thought we would send out the survey in an email. So that will be coming to you as well. And we will have some prizes attached to when you get those surveys back to us. We will put your name in for a drawing for some pretty cool swag. So you don't want to miss out on that. Looks like we just have about 7 more people to vote. So please get your vote in there. Give it just a few more minutes. Not surprisingly, we have a lot of gatherers and gardeners in here so far. Okay. Okay, it looks like we have just 4 people. Who are those 4 people we're waiting on?
I think they're us, Danielle. We can't participate, but it counts us in the.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. No worries. We'll go ahead and end that polling then, and I'll be able to share those results so everybody's able to see that. So can everybody see that now? Okay. So that's our audience today. Like I said, we have a lot of gatherers, gardeners, just one rancher in here. A lot of hunter and fisher people too. So that gives us a little bit of idea of who's coming to our summit now. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and go into a little break. As you guys are going into doing a break, take care of yourself, what you need to do. We will be getting the vendors ready. So you'll come back to some breakout rooms and being able to go in and visit with the vendors. Okay. If you have any questions, please shoot me a chat. Thank you. So we still have a few people, I think, maybe finding their way back. We just wanted to invite everybody back for a few closing remarks and just thank everybody for being here today. I hope that you were able to gain a lot of knowledge you'll be able to implement right away. And we look forward to having everybody back again next year. We certainly plan to continue this education and outreach with our food summit. We will be in touch with each and every one of you, sending out some email. Again, we'll have a survey. If you would please be sure to answer that. Your name will go into a drawing for some awesome goods from Nimipu country. And if you have any ideas that you'd like to have some speakers come back or some additional topics for next year, please share those with us. As a planning committee, we're just a few people. So we'd love to hear all of your ideas to just kind of broaden that out there more. So, Anne, did you want to add a few more words before we close things up?
Thank you, Danielle. I just want to say I echo saying to all of you, congratulations for participating in these Zoom meetings. I'm an older person, so technology is not easy to me at this time, but I see that with our technicians, it was made possible. So I really thank them. They're coming from here at the tribe and at the University of Idaho, so they were very much needed. All the people that are from out of this region, it just excites me so much that you got to be part of this and you're getting to know us. And I hope at some point that you come to visit us. And we're going to be meeting some more tomorrow as the coalition for the Nez Perce Tribe. And we're never going to give up, and we're all going to make gains in becoming sovereign with our food, with every tribe or with the community that we live in. So I know we're strong, I know we're resilient, and I know that we can do this. And with all the support from all of you, I appreciate so much your attendance today. Himakas Katsiaya.
Thank you. And I want to make sure that you're all aware we are going to open up the vendor rooms again, but we just wanted to have this chance to touch base. So if there's a vendor that you still wanted to jump into the room and ask some questions, Mackenzie's going to open those rooms back up here shortly, and you'll be able to jump around in those rooms and visit. I will keep those open and live as long as we see, I see that there are participants in the rooms. And so feel free to jump back in there. Shannon, did you want to have any words to close us out?
Thank you, Danielle, and I appreciate the words. And I did have to step out a little bit as an emergency came up, but definitely the things that are happening, within our tribe, with the water code that has been finalized at the Department of Interior due to a water settlement that happened in 2007 or 2009 that we secured the administration of 50,000 acre feet of water, which is equivalent to about 16.2 billion gallons. And so that will help us. We have roughly around 150,000 acres of agriculture land. It's dry land farming that we're looking to convert over to some of that to irrigated crops to help supplement the traditional foods that we do have. And, also we have the hemp ordinance that we're looking at producing hemp on the reservation for either medicinal reasons or for fiber. These are just a few of the things that the Nez Perce Tribe is doing in order to get ourselves in position to where food sovereignty and the future of what this looks like and get our tribal membership involved. And going into the future, I think that's really where we need to reach out to is, I'm an entrepreneur by trade, and I think it's important that the entrepreneurial spirit is a part of this growth, and it has to be because we really can't depend on the tribe to do everything for its people, and that's where the individuals come in and take the lead on that. And I was glad I sat in on the breakout of the CDFI program and what that has to offer. Just things are coming together. With all the presentations that are made today, that this is all a part of a movement that's happening across the country and Indian country, as well as neighborhood markets, and just catching that, I think, is puts all of the nation in a good position to where we're not dependent on outside sources for our nutrients that we need on a daily basis. And many of the children on the reservations are still empty cupboards, believe it or not. And as the educators that are on in the meeting now would know that an empty stomach isn't a learning stomach, that your brain is not going to learn much when you're seeking food, and we still have that on the reservation. And I've mentioned that in some of our previous summits that we did have, was I knew where every fruit tree was, where every berry bush was, and all those things around our community, because a lot of times our cupboards were bare, so we'd have to where all the fishing holes were, so we had to do those things. And it still happens. So we're trying to do what we can to at least take that variable out of the equation for the future of the people and the people of the region, that we're part of the solution and not part of the problem. And I think through community development and reaching out with other people throughout the country and hearing their stories, your stories, and the things that you're doing will help benefit all of us by communicating each and every one of our ideas to improve who we are and improve our position as people. And I'd just like to thank Danielle and the whole HIPT Food Coalition for putting this together, and for all the participants that have presented here today. we look to get past the pandemic when we can do this in person and, exchange ideas and knowledge with one another in person, and, the handshakes and laughter that go along with that. We all miss that. So we look forward to seeing all of you sometime in the near future and hopefully in person. So thank you very much, Danielle, and for all the work that you've done along with the committee staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. Much appreciated. Sanjay, I saw that you had your hand up.
Yes, I just wanted to directly address Mr. Shannon on this. Non-native, originally from India, but I just want to say it resonated with me what you said about entrepreneurship. And through Danielle, we'll connect with you at some point, because we want to combine entrepreneurship, social entrepreneurship, food sovereignty, food equity, and making everybody in the nation prosper through the process. So we have some interesting ideas about 4-season growing of foods. So I just wanted to share that with you in the open forum before we take this offline, because I think this it very well resonated with me what you are talking about. So I appreciate your time.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Sanjay.
And if I could respond to that too, there's in the CDFI program, there's something that in Indian communities that we call wealth distribution. So it's a distribution of wealth amongst the full community and not just individuals. And that's the way that the Nez Perce have traditionally done things, as far as the wealth was equally distributed amongst everyone. And I think that's makes for a happier community and a more healthy and prosperous community. So thank you for those words, Sanjay.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, so with that, Mackenzie's going to go ahead and open up those vendors again. Shannon, Ann, Anthony, Casey Mitchell, I really encourage you to go in and talk to Sanjay about ConeBit. I was in there. I think that's something we should really consider for the Nez Perce tribe. With that, Mackenzie, go ahead and take it away.